Alright folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the wild landscape of Scotland. And for today's adventure, we're starting here where in the distance we can see the snowy peak of Mount Blair. And on my right hand side there's a bird of prey making its call here from the top of the tree. And then we've got some autumn colours here. And yeah, this adventure, we're basically about to document a little abandoned cottage, which at one time would have been a little farm Croft here in the wild lands of Scotland. You have to imagine at such an ancient time, before all these trees and stuff were planted here, this Croft would have been located on the hill. So on today's adventure, we're about to go and document this Croft and see what's left of the history in the little cottage. So let's get into action. So this land here is still used for gamekeepers and for forestry and things like that. So I'm obviously coming with respect of the landowner. Okay, and hopefully I can just make my way up this track as far as this little cottage. And who even knows what's left of the ancient history? I've probably not been here for a few years, and it is cool kind of going back to places that I had seen, because so many of them's changed or gone, or some of them's even been redeveloped into modern houses and stuff like that. So it's interesting with these wee adventures. Sometimes I'm driving around the glen and I just think, wow, it'd be cool to go up that particular road or up a track. These places are so remote, there's no main road to get to them. This is literally like a couple of miles of a mud track to this place. So yeah, it's a cool wee adventure. And already we've seen that bird of prey sitting making its call. The amount of nature and wildlife that I see on the way along these like walks and adventures, it's just crazy. It's amazing how these places can change over a few years, because I remember when this was just a grassy, boggy track down here, a bit like this. You see the edge of the forest, it used to just be like that, and now it's been landscaped and engineered, most likely for timber operations in the nearby area. But yeah, look at this, the wee house should be around this corner here. Check it out, it's in great condition compared to some of the more recent little cottages and wee crofts that I've visited. This one's in absolutely amazing condition. Still got the roof and stuff like that on it. And yeah, I can actually see way in the distance there's hills between the trees there, and there's proper snow on top of them. Yeah, this road's been fully made right down here. I've never seen it looking like this, folks. Wow, this is incredible. See, next to the cottage there's actually alpacas, or something that looks like llamas or alpacas. So I might not even be able to get into this cottage. Check it out, folks, look at these creatures. I've never encountered these before, so I'm not actually wanting to go in and document this cottage if this is the case. That's sometimes how these adventures are. I always come with the greatest respect, like landowners, and even this house owner here. And like, if they've got these animals in here, I'm not going in upsetting them, because I don't actually know the nature of these animals. Look, they're so inquisitive. It'd be so cool if they came over. So I'm going to head a wee bit further down this road here, folks, and see what's further down it. Look at this, there's like a shooting outlook here in the forest. Yeah, like I say, it's been years since I've been here the last time. It just shows how much things can change. This road is completely new. At one time there would have been an ancient road coming up there to the farm Croft. Yeah, look at these creatures, folks, they're so cool, they're so interesting. I've never actually seen these on the channel before. Hello! I was trying to get them to come over, they seem really scared. Yeah, it looks like they can't actually get into the bit where the front door of the house is. So I'll have a look if I can get in without upsetting them. Because that's what I'm all about on this channel, folks. I never want to upset anybody's creatures. But I can see there's like a proper fence around there, and it comes along the front. Yeah, I love the character of this. It's such a special thing to see. Just think, a little family, a little community But I do like to see the fact that it's getting used again. Maybe at one time this was a field for the ancient croft, now a field for a more modern nearby family or whatever, which is managing the land and maintaining it. Yeah, look at the character of the house. Wow, what is left of the history here? This is unreal. Look at the wee front door. Let's head on in. The spider webs and stuff within this grass. Yeah, see, it's been closed up so the llama things can't get in. I'll leave it like that when I leave as well. Wow, it's so dangerous in here, folks. That's how I'm being careful and being quick. I've got spider webs on my hand, yeah. Okay, we'll just take in this detail of history and then we'll be on our way. Spider webs galore. See that, the moss. The way nature takes back over. You can see remains of the old wood lining on the walls, like I've spoken about on other adventures. And then there was a back door there, took you out to where there was other buildings as well of this croft. Just think here, folks, there would have been an old cooking range, probably the main room of the house, the kitchen, which was also doubled up as a sitting room back in the day. And look, the wee window looks out over the hill there. Let's peek out, the llamas are out there somewhere. I'm obviously not wanting to upset them. The curtain rail's still in position, but look at the hooks on the roof. Sometimes they had a string across there to be washing, but also maybe they had the food hung up at a certain time to keep it away from mice. Also, they had a hook often on the roof for their lantern. Back in the days of a cottage like this, it would have been a wee paraffin lamp they had. Yeah, just think of the history, almost gone and almost forgotten. When you see the condition of it, the bits of the chimneys smashed down through and hit the roof, busting it off. You just think this would have been the main room probably in the house originally. Yeah, look, it's like there's been a mad wasp bike up there at a certain time, or a wasp hive. Yeah, wow, the floor and stuff just doesn't actually look that safe here, so I'm not really wanting to risk it. Just take a look in there, folks. The old bed, the old bedroom. Yeah, what a scene of history. I'm going to sneak back out here as well, leaving it exactly how I found it so that the llamas and stuff can't get in, because that is what the countryside code's all about, folks, when you explore. Let's close this door as it was. Old Victorian door. It looks like they've had this up as well, but the llamas won't go in there as long as the door's closed. It would be a struggle. They would hate to duck down their heads. And then down at this side there's an ancient farm shed. Let's take a look in it before we leave the site, since we've come this far, folks. Wow. Yeah, look, the old feeders and stuff on the far wall here. Just think about the cows and the animals getting a feed. And then the horses' harnesses hung up on this board. These farms are from the ancient days of horses and carts. Real Scottish history here out in the Highland Glen. A little house and a little shed. At one time a little family settled here, earning their living from what they had. And yeah, look, see how the floor is built? It's similar to what we saw at the abandoned croft, lost under the waters of Luntrathen Loch. You can see the floor pattern here, and that gives you an idea of how it may have looked inside. And look at the old wooden feeders. Yeah, the scenes are incredible in a video like this, folks. And look at the old milk bottle. Wow. So cool. Anyway, let's head out of this historical old farm. It probably dates way back, 1700s, even older. There could have been a wee croft house in a place like this back in, like, I don't even know, the 1400s and before it. Just check out the character of that today. This tree was most likely planted by occupants of the original house. Look at the mushrooms growing out of there. It's not only the abandoned history on this channel, folks, it's the nature and wildlife along the way. Even that incredible mushroom, fungus, whatever it is. And we need to head out here now with obviously the respect. I'm staying at the opposite side of the house from the llamas. They're away at the far side now on the grassy area. They look like such cool animals though. Yeah, this is amazing, folks. Look at this scene. Real history of Scotland once again. Just imagine it when the smoke was coming out the chimneys. Maybe the noise of the cows mooing and the noise of the horse and cart rolling up the old Glen Road. Or maybe down to the market with a flock of sheep. So along the track a little bit there's this old, it looks like an original gate leading off into this area here. And then there's this strange big like mound in the land. So I'm not sure what was going on. Like back in the ancient time they used to quite often have lime kilns and other little structures like that related to farm crofts. But that is a real strange big mound of stones there. It's interesting, folks, but it's so overgrown this time of year. Everything's so overgrown, it's hard to actually see history in a lot of places. That's how, like, in a couple of months we've got some amazing places lined up to visit. There's no point in going at this time of year, it's too early. Check out this autumn scene here. It looks like beech trees. We've got all the colours from reds and browns, yellows and greens. And then big hills in the distance, over great distances, and now I can see Killarney Tower in the Strathmore Valley. And it is incredible to be able to see that far. Killarney Tower is another tower that I want to visit pretty soon on a video. It's probably been a good maybe 4 years or more since I last went there. And it'd be cool with the drone now as well to get some shots. I'm not going to bother flying the drone at this cottage because of the animals. Those alpacas or llamas, whatever they are, I didn't want to scare them by flying the drone about. Because I always come with respect, like the landowners and places like this. There is a main road there, well, a main farm track there, and then there's a few other roads branch off. But for this adventure, I'm just going to head back up out past this cottage. I can hear a quad coming, folks. It could actually be the farmer. We'll see if he's fleeing about. The farmer on his quad. Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly where the main farm is in this area, like I say. That'll be the gentleman that owns these llamas. But yeah, I can see this ancient dry stone construction here. And I think that's the boundaries of the land, which at one time was this croft. Often little crofts and wee farms, they get bought over by bigger farms in the area, which then end up with more land. And then the old buildings just become a ruin because they're no longer needed. They don't meet modern building standards, and often they don't have electricity or water, like sanitation. So yeah, it's interesting. They're so old, folks. The history's so ancient. So originally, when this farm was in its prime, the main road, the main track here on the hill used to continue along this direction, and then it used to go up behind through where those llama things are grazing now. And I believe there could be other little articles related to this farm, maybe dotted in the trees or in the surrounding area. I'm not sure if it's had a lime kiln or whatever back in the day, but probably when the trees got put in, the land got drained, and maybe some of the history at that time got deleted or removed. But also, maybe one day if these trees get felled, the history will show itself once again. And here we are, we're back beside this incredible old house. Real abandoned history of Scotland. And these creatures as well, they're so inquisitive. They've got massive long necks. So I believe this house must have been lived in until maybe like the mid 1900s. And it's crazy just in Scotland, because of the extreme damp environment often, places like this just get like downgraded so quick, they start to rot out. And like everything just starts falling apart. And within there the wooden lining's starting to fall apart as well. But on the outside you can't tell the chimney has fallen in. But on the outside, well, when you're in the actual building I should say, you can see the stones that's come off the chimney. And that must be in the attic. So that's a cool scene of history once again on today's video. You can see the little house with the sheds. Super ancient. I believe the sheds have got the character of what would have been an even more ancient house back in the day. Probably that roof was put on in the 1900s with those two chimneys. Originally it would have had a stone slab roof like a lot of Scottish houses out on the hills. But then the roofs became rotten, and sometimes the weight of the stone slabs, it wasn't actually a good idea to leave it. So they got the more modern roofs put on. And then look, they've had a wee garage, so I'm not sure what the deal is. Imagine they had a wee like car or whatever parked in there back in the day. And then there's been even more farm sheds at the far end. And that's where the wee back door of the house kind of goes out, that we saw. It goes along behind that. And it is interesting to imagine it when it was a thriving Croft, when the boy was pushing his little wooden wheelbarrow around, feeding the animals. And yeah, it's interesting. More history of Scotland documented. And then getting to see these incredible animals. There's even more stones and stuff lying around there, and I'm not sure if it was other parts of buildings, or maybe stones that had moved off the land when they were clearing it for fields. Yeah, look at these animals, they're super shy. So it's very unlikely they'll come over. One of them actually looks smaller than the other two. Let's see folks, check them out. They're llamas I believe. I think they're known to spit, like if you go near them they'll go hit you with some like spat. That's quite funny though to see them, they're quite inquisitive. They must bend over when they're eating the grass because their neck's so long. I can see they've got dirty knees. They're cool beasts though. And then look, they've got this little house all to themselves. That's their house nowadays folks, it's not actually abandoned anymore. It's the llama house. And then look at this thistle here folks, this is the scene of Scotland. Check out that thistle growing there. Glen Isla's got excellent ground for the thistles growing. They're just everywhere whenever you get a bit of rough ground. Anyway, let's head on back out of here. That was a cool wee walk and a cool wee explore. And I love the mad landscapes and the animals, as well as the old history which we document here on the channel. And sometimes I'm just amazed how much these things change. And when you come back a couple of years later, not only does the history and the buildings change, but like even the landscape around them. This road's just so different to how it used to be. So this area here that's been clear felled, the first time I came to this location, this was actually a forest. And it was mad like walking in through the forest and then that wee cottage being hidden in the middle of it. Whereas nowadays obviously it's getting more to be out in the open. The more forestry just clears the land slightly. But I believe this area here has been replanted, so obviously it'll regrow in many years to come. Yeah, I'm just basically heading back out this track. It's a well kept track, so I'm guessing that this road links up with maybe like a farmhouse or whatever at the far end. Check that out folks. Like I say about wildlife and stuff on the channel, that's one of those hairy caterpillars making its way across the road. And they're just the craziest of Scottish creatures. You see them quite often. Wow, that's an absolute madness. almost alien-like when you see them. But yeah, that's super cool. It's always like just when I'm waiting to switch the camera off, I just see another thing that's worth recording. Now I can see these massive big wind turbines in the distance. And yeah, there's farms over at the far side abandoned, and they've got the old water wheels. It's crazy to think the water wheels at one time was used to power the farm mills and stuff, whereas now the big wind turbines are creating the energy which is used for the obviously modern world. And it's crazy how technology's moved on. The old water wheels were so well constructed, they could have still been in use today if they had been maintained and upkept, but obviously technology moves on, so everybody gets electric in their house. Everything else just became powered by electric from the national grid. Right folks, I'm just about back down this road as far as my car, so I'm going to end this short video here. Thanks very much for tuning in to see another little bit of Scottish history hidden and forgotten in these wild lands. And with a place like that, obviously I come with respect to the house owner and the landowner here. I was just wanting to record like those timbers inside the house, the way they're hanging down, they could just fall down at any moment, and then the history's gone and forgotten. And if a place like that gets redeveloped, the original fixtures and fittings is like the first thing to go. So wee videos like this just show how it was at a certain time. It's always a fun adventure going into a place like that. Yeah, into the maddest of lands. Then you end up seeing the coolest of things. Anyway folks, I'm ending this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll catch you very soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.